Michael Malice here, Let That Be Your Welcome. And today we have a special crossover episode.
It is.
Bridget Phetasy, host of the Ricochet podcast, Walk-Ins with Bridget Phetasy.
Walk-Ins welcome.
Walk-Ins welcome.
Mm-hmm.
I bungled
We both
it.
have welcome.
Let that be.
That's why you left it out.
That is.
I'm stepping on your brand.
That's not your welcome.
Is that your welcome? It's walk-in. I'm welcome.
So you are... you and me became friends through Twitter.
Yes, all my friends are from Twitter.
Yeah. A lot of people are like, you two should get in a room together. Mm-hmm. We made that happen.
Yeah.
I went to do your show when I was in LA promoting the new Right. You hadn't read it, which was perfect because we still had a lot of fun just shooting the shit.
I know.
And I love it when I can talk to someone and I know that who knows where the conversation is going to go, but it's going to be a lot of fun.
It's going to be fun.
Yeah. So you just happened to pop into New York.
Yeah. I interviewed two people for the podcast. I interviewed Noah Rothman yesterday. Very smart young man. And today I interviewed Adam Alter. He wrote the book Irresistible about screen addiction.
Oh, okay.
I talk about it all the time on podcasts. And so that was cool. He talked about how we can help save ourselves from screen addiction, but
I'd rather be
help.
looking at a screen than at a face.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So you're not a Luddite.
No.
You're all tech.
No,
You're waiting for the virtual. Just get me into a virtual room.
I want Gattaca.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I want.
Okay.
/ the Matrix.
Okay. Yeah.
Get me away from all these plebs, cretins, dimwits, and midwits. I just want my machines, baby.
How are you going to get out of the plebs?
It's tough. It's tough. But
You're going to be the first on a private jet, aren't you? Just
listen, there's this occupancy on this island I've been eyeing. All these kids are there. It's going to be fantastic. It's just absolutely fantastic. I'll be very presidential, I promise. So you're in New York to interview people.
Yes. And yeah.
Okay. So one of the things that you mentioned on Twitter that I wanted to pick up on is there was a concept in my book, The New Right, The Cathedral.
Right.
And you said, and which is from Mencius Moldbug, which you understand. And you said you think or mention this concept like every day now.
Yeah.
Why did it have... so let me tell about your background for people who don't know.
I think I mentioned it on Glenn Beck's radio, and I did that a week ago.
Oh.
Just talking about how you said, it's so... it was such a mind-blowing concept to me.
It's a red pill concept.
Well, because I was joking about how I feel like such an idiot going on these conservative media outlets and being like, and did you know, guys, the right and on the left, they're doing this. And they're like, yeah, no shit. They're doing this for a long time. But I'm like, you wouldn't believe the things I'm learning. Just like... And you know what else they do? Like, yeah, we're aware.
So the new podcast is going to be called Riding the Bus with Bridget. It's the sequel to the Rosie O'Donnell documentary.
And you know what else, guys?
Did you know they play by their own set of rules for them and different rules for everybody else?
I mean...
Shamelessly and brazenly. So, but why did this concept hit so close to home for you?
Because what you said about how the fact that the cathedral is so pervasive that I didn't even know I was in it was evidence of its existence. And that has been my experience kind of opening my eyes and then being this like moron on tour. It's like, and you know what else they're doing?
And, some of these wars may have been unnecessary and some bad people may have made a lot of money from them and kids died for no reason.
Did you guys know there's a culture war going on?
Hey, Glenn Beck. Hey, Mr. Glenn Beck. Did you know that there's this culture war thing?
When I was on his podcast, he was giving me shit for it because I was like, yeah, in 2013. And he's like, it was happening before then.
What, you thought 2013? Literally, okay,
That's when I got sober.
Okay, you haven't gotten far in the book, and that's fine. In 1992, for those who don't know, Pat Buchanan spoke at the Republican National Convention, and he said, there's a culture war in this country, and everyone lost their minds, including the Republicans, because they're like, oh my God, no, like, shut it down. And that was when it first kind of broke into the term public consciousness.
Okay.
But it's been going on for far longer.
So people keep telling me that I need to read Breitbart's. They're like, you're like a young Andrew Breitbart. And I'm like, why are you saying this? But apparently because he was a liberal who lived in L.A., who then, became aware of the cathedral, and I started reading his autobiography. But it's definitely made me. I was texting my friend the other day. He's like, "Did you liquefy red pills and inject them? What is going on?" I was like, "Oh, Andrew's radicalizing me from beyond the grave."
Yeah. Hey, Glenn Beck, have you heard of this guy Andrew Breitbart?
Hey, Glenn Beck. You know this guy Andrew? I'm learning so much. It's so sad. It's really embarrassing.
Why is it embarrassing?
It's just
okay. I gotta take you to test for that. Okay.
It's not embarrassing. It's just funny. It's amused. I'm amused at how naive I am.
But the thing is, they want you to be naive.
Right.
That's the thing. When you are naive, that's how the cathedral works. You are under the impression that you are worldly and sophisticated. And my example I talk about is there's this fringe magazine for lunatics that is very obscure called The New Yorker or New York Magazine. And people read it and they think they're the only ones reading it. And then they tell their friends, oh, I heard about this new restaurant. And it's like literally all your friends not only have heard about it, they've heard about it in the same way because they also read The New Yorker or New York Magazine. So, but there's this perception that like if you watch John Oliver, all of a sudden you're informed. It's like, no. You're just informed on what John Oliver wants you to be informed about. And I think a little more humility from everyone, which you clearly have. I mean, and part of I'm sure it comes from recovery, is very healthy. Because Tom Woods, who's a friend of mine, I don't know if you know who he is. He's this very failed podcaster. And the whole point is all human beings are ignorant of 99.9% of human knowledge.
Right.
The smartest person.
Right.
So, yeah, we're all learning. And that's great.
That is.
And there's nothing wrong saying, I don't know.
I feel like I react very strongly to AOC.
Okay.
Because I was her. I was a 27-year-old liberal bartender. I was her. I was so annoying. I thought I knew everything. I was going to change the world. And that's a very 27-year-old liberal. Yeah. I get it. But I wasn't quite. The difference, I think, is that I never had the smug knowledge that I knew best because I was always drunk. So there was a part of me that was always self-deprecating, and there was a part of me that was always like, I don't really know anything, even if I think I know something. I was just reciting the talking points. And I was lucky to have a conservative uncle and a conservative mentor when I moved. He was a yoga client of mine, and they would very quickly disassemble any of my perceptions or at least offer a gentle alternate opinion. And that was kind of the beginning of me recognizing that perhaps I was not, you know what? Maybe I'm not getting the whole story.
Michael Malice here. We want to talk about Wix. What's Wix? You know how people say, oh, if you don't like Twitter, make your own Twitter? That's ridiculous. Well, with Wix, you can make your own professional website. And we did it. If you go to letthatbeyourwelcome.com, click on the link at the bottom. You can see the page we made for the show. And Wix will give you 10% off any premium plan if you just go to that page and click that link. So they've got 500 templates to choose from, over 500. And how they work to design websites, it's got a drag and drop functionality. You add text, you add images, you add videos, whatever you want. That's too much for you to handle? That's fine too. They got something called ADI, Artificial Design Intelligence. You answer a few simple questions about you or your business, and Wix will create a website for you. If you go to letthatbeyourwelcome.com, you can check it out for yourself. And I want to stress this. I urge all of you, get your own domain name so that when people search for you on Tinder or on a job interview, you control what's going to be the first result. Letthatbeyourwelcome.com. So part of the thing that I like about my show is getting to meet interesting people and learning about things from them. Who of all your guests have you learned from the most?
Well, you are one of the people. Uh,
How so?
the cathedral thing. Well, oh my God. It was that just framing what I was experiencing and putting into context a lot of the different ways, just the new right, essentially all the little factions and the variations, and I felt like I could intuit a lot of it, but you have the background and the wisdom and the history to explain it. And I'm not just trying to flatter you. I really did learn a lot, and I love your book, and I actually can't wait to finish it because I got taken away from it.
One of the things that you do that I think is terrific and I find very admirable. I had a friend who had like a bit of a drinking issue, and he tweeted at you and you replied to him, and that really kind of put a little spring in his step. And on the one hand, you and I don't want to sound pompous, or at least maybe you don't. I certainly aspire to pomposity. But we forget that, like, you know, people read your feed, they find you interesting, and when you reply, it kind of can make that little nudge, especially when you're in a bad place.
Yeah.
So you helped him a lot.
Oh, good.
Just by that, and I think that's absolutely terrific. Can you talk about how you got sober? What was your? I'm sure you've talked about this, written about this a lot.
Yeah.
What was your? Was it alcohol? Was your drug of choice?
Everything is my drug of choice.
Sure.
When I quit drinking and smoking weed, I was doing lots of other things, but I was in recovery for heroin when I was 19.
Oh, wow.
And then I never touched it again, but that kind of extended my addictive tendencies because I just told myself as long as I wasn't using heroin, I was cool. I'm like, well, I don't use heroin anymore. When you start there, it's it's like, I'm doing great. Yeah. I'm only an alcoholic. What? At least I'm not. So that was a lie I told myself for a long time. And
how long were you on heroin user?
Not long. I was a very, very fast. I pretty much, that was a fast rock bottom. I started and a year later was in rehab.
Were you shooting up?
No.
Oh, so you're not even a real addict. You still got some gold in that mind.
That's what's scary.
Yeah.
Well, once, and then I was like, I'm going to die. Yeah. I was already 89 pounds. I hadn't even shot up yet. I was already 89 pounds, and I had to be hospitalized.
Oh, Jesus.
Because I was smoking it and snorting it, but I had like bronchitis that I had left untreated, and when I went into the hospital, they were like, you were 2 days away from dying. So I had managed to do a pretty good job.
So you're saying I still have time to do more heroin?
Yeah. So you're saying there's 2 more days.
That's 48 hours. That sounds like a perfect binge.
I know. People always ask me, they're like, oh, how was heroin? I'm like, great. Yeah. It was amazing until it wasn't. But for me, some people, everyone's experience is different. I never had the first time I drank at 12, I blacked out, and I never wanted to drink to like be cool and get along with people. I just wanted to shut my brain up. Yeah. So I understand that it makes things easier for me. Moving around, drinking was easy because instead of having to lean into my actual personality, I became like an A+ party girl.
Okay.
I went from being an A+ student to funneling all of that into being the best kind of party girl I could be. And I made alcoholism look amazing.
What does that mean?
I did. I was a great alcoholic. I could handle it. It looked like fun, but I was dying on the inside.
Physically or emotionally?
Emotionally. I mean, that was when I got sober. It'll be 6 years in October.
That's wonderful.
It's crazy how actually when I first started, I was like 5 years. That's like science fiction. When people would say that, I couldn't even imagine 90 days at the time. And when in early sobriety, it just when you can't string together 2 days of not having to use some substance to alter your mind, the idea of years of that I think that's why they have to use that 1 day at a time and all of those little tricks you have to use to trick yourself. That's really all you're doing.
Well, yeah, because your brain is tricking you into thinking you need to drink. So if you have a trick to trick it back to normal, to double negative, that works for you, fine.
And if I had been like, I can never drink again, there's no way. So for me, it worked because even still it works. Like, I always have the option of drinking, and maybe I'll drink tomorrow. But today I'm just not going to.
That's a great way of looking at it.
So that made it easier. And the thing I've been helping a lot of people get sober from recently is marijuana. And there's no resources for it. And no one really even takes it seriously, to the point that I've done stand-up about this, where when you're in rehab, it's just funny how even when you're at rock bottom, there's still the ego to like be the best.
Yeah.
And people would come in and they'd be like, "Oh, I'm in here for coke," and you're like, "That's adorable. You did that when I was coming off heroin." Like, I'm the best loser, the biggest loser here. So keep trying. And weed addicts were just laughed at when they would come into a rehab. Like,
well, in all fairness, they're laughing as well.
Yeah, they're laughing.
they're having a good time.
But that, and it's weird to put weed addicts in with a bunch of hardcore addicts, because if you're going to be, I saw a lot of young kids get thrown in rehab with, real serious addicts. And the kids were like, well, if I'm going to be punished for smoking weed, I might as well try meth and crack. So there's that idea that you're putting it. I don't know that it's harm reduction at all. You're actually exposing them to people who are doing much harder drugs and punishing them the same, putting them in the same situation.
And also when they're talking to these other people like, I have to stop doing meth because it's too fun. Yeah. It's the most fun. You want to do it 24/7. And like, this actually sounds like something I want to try.
I hated it. I think everybody's personality gravitates to different drugs of choice, and the uppers. I have journals from when I was coming down from speed, and they are like the journals of a serial killer, just a psycho, just me writing to basically not go crazy. Oh, yeah. I'm like, if I stop writing and moving this pen, I'm going to lose my mind. And why are the fucking birds so loud? Like, not well.
So then you're doing speed, you're doing everything?
I was doing speed before I was doing heroin.
So as a kid.
I mean, it's not funny. I don't know why I'm laughing, but I got drugged. It's just you make everything kind of amusing. I got drugged and raped.
Wait, hold on, before you get into that. No, in all seriousness, I think everyone who's in recovery, or for the most part, really have a dark sense of humor.
Yeah.
Because they realize how close they could have been to the grave.
Yeah.
So anything else is like, this is gravy.
And I take recovery seriously and help. That's why when people reach out to me about that, I always make time for them as much as I can, whether they DM me or on Twitter. If I see it, I will always stop and even talk to them, because I know that hell when you're at that place where you can't stop. This was something interesting that Adam was talking about, the difference between liking and wanting. And with most addictions, it starts with liking something and wanting it. But what happens with addiction, and when the sign that you're kind of in it, is when you stop liking that thing and you still want it. And he was comparing it even to when you're on YouTube and you're like, why? It's 2:00 in the morning. I should be sleeping. Yeah. And I hate myself for even clicking on this video, but I can't stop. So the fact that
here's the other thing why I think you can help people, because if someone has, God forbid, been drugged and or raped, you had the hat trick there, and you're cracking jokes, they know it's safe to contact you because you're not going to freak the fuck out.
No.
You're going to be like, all right, I've been there, sister, brother, whatever.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it. And it's a much more relaxed environment, and it's a lot easier to transition that trauma into something bite-sized and manageable.
And I think in early recovery, you need, when you're even getting sober, especially in those early years, I needed to be able to go into a room and be like, yeah, I want to kill myself, and I know exactly which tree I'm going to run my car into, and have everyone laugh. Be like, oh, yeah, we've been there.
Yeah.
We know that feeling. So
I have this in my book. You haven't got to this part yet, where I have a chapter on dark humor, and my friend has been celebrating 10 years. I went with her to her anniversary at AA, and someone got up and it goes, I was homeless. I was in the mental hospital. I was in intensive care. I was unemployed and divorced. He goes, I did the whole tour. Yeah. And everyone starts laughing. And then you're laughing. You're like, the one stop I didn't get to is the grave.
Yeah.
And it's like, it is funny.
It is.
And it's like, because
it's gallows humor.
It's gallows humor. And now you have a job and you have a relationship.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you can't laugh at what you've been through, it will always be a monkey on your back.
It's true. And I think it just gives people hope that they can laugh again. I was worried that I would never be able to write again, because I did so much writing drunk and high, and I was worried that I'd never have fun again. And
and that did happen. Because it's not as fun, let's be honest.
It's different.
It's different.
It is different. So I've been to many music festivals. So
You're the one person. Everyone's like, what's with this bitch? She's not having fun. I am having my own fun, sir. It's just as much fun as not seeing the colors change, sir.
I don't need trails to have fun.
Or you're standing there like, holy shit, this music's terrible.
That's what happened with Fish.
Yeah,
I got sober and I was like, Jesus Christ, how high was I? Turns out pretty fucking high.
On a scale of 1 to high enough to like Fish, how high were you?
I was a decade of high enough to like Fish.
Yeah. So part of the thing that I like about my show is getting to meet interesting people and learning about things from them. Who of all your guests have you learned from the most?
James Lindsay. He was one of the guys that did the grievance studies, those papers.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, he was... I didn't fully understand postmodernism from a cultural perspective. I think I had a general understanding of it, or I thought I understood it, but when he was on the podcast, and he really was... Did you ever see that movie Rush, where they went undercover? It was like Jennifer Jason Leigh and Patrick something, and they went undercover as heroin addicts, and then they got addicted to heroin. I feel like he's gone undercover into like the grievance studies.
He works with Helen Pluckrose, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So they're the ones who had that. They're basically that fake study that they got published in a journal.
Yeah, many studies.
Yeah, and their whole
many
point
journals.
is that this is a mechanism of social control and not a real intellectual pursuit.
Well, and just how social justice, as the religion, has kind of infected academia, and without fail, every time they would submit a paper, they would have them make it crazier.
Yeah.
And that was interesting to learn too, just seeing how he... I just learned a lot. It was one of those conversations where I felt like most of the conversations I have in my podcast, I feel like I'm desperately trying to keep up to the level of intellect that I'm dealing with and knowledge. I was drunk for 20 years. And then I started hitting the hard drugs. So up until that point, it was I was definitely an alcoholic in high school, looking back, and a daily weed smoker from the minute that I started smoking. So when weed was, and it's funny, in rehab, they told me, they said, your true drug of choice is marijuana. And I was like, marijuana's not a drug. Like, it's
and it's not even a choice. Give it to me right now.
And I have no choice over it. And so it was always just like my Prozac and my Ritalin. It functioned. I was not one of those stoners. I was a productive stoner, and I think it works like that on some people.
Yeah.
And as the weed got more and more racy over the years and speedy, I was even more productive. So, and to the point that then I had to drink to bring my anxiety down.
Yeah.
So my chemical balance was weed and coffee in the morning, and then by 3, I would need to start drinking to balance out the weed anxiety I was getting. And it was pretty much like that through high school, and then with some psychedelics and pretty normal early stage alcoholism, early high school alcoholism. And then once that thing happened to me, I was kind of off to the races. I think I had so much shame around it, and I responded to the experience. I think I'd probably had sex with 2 people. Like, I'd probably just lost my virginity. So I responded to that experience. Everyone does differently.
Yeah.
I became like hypersexual. I just was like, I felt worthless, and I felt like I was like no one would want to be with me anymore, and that I was
like they'd know.
Like I was,
Somehow they'd know, you're glowing.
yeah, and that I was like I don't know. I come from Catholicism. There's so much guilt around sex anyway that I always felt like automatically. It took years for me to be like, I'm not going to get AIDS if I have sex. Right. Automatically, and even being safe. I was like, I'm going to get punished for having sex, and that's just what will happen.
Yeah.
So there was already a lot of shame around my sexuality anyway that I hadn't really worked out. And this Epstein stuff is super triggering.
Is it?
Yeah, I had a when I was kind of off to the races, I was with I had naked pictures taken of me when I was like very intoxicated on all kinds of drugs by a person out in LA, a powerful kind of director, I guess, of sorts. And
It was Ben Shapiro.
oh my God.
You DM'd me this. It's Ben Shapiro.
He was like set 12 at the time.
That's why they call it the Daily Wire. They wire a photo every day.
Oh no, he's so good. I love Ben.
Good lighting.
And so that experience was definitely a bit traumatic.
Of course.
But I never even really, because of all the other stuff, and there was stuff that happened even after I got sober. All of this stuff that got like lost, kind of got lost in the mix. I was like, yeah, whatever. It wasn't like I was raped, and this whole thing, the way that they keep talking about it, yesterday I was reading, and I might even, I don't want to cry right now, but I just burst into tears reading, and I was like, oh yeah, I was 17, 18, maybe just 18 years old, and in like this very compromised position, and had these photographs taken, and God knows if they're even still out there anymore.
But isn't that interesting how the traumas are held in the body?
That's
a very it's a yoga concept, but it's really true. Like even though mentally maybe you've dealt with it, like it's your body remembers.
Oh yeah, it was crazy. It was like PTSD. Like I was suddenly in that moment. And I could remember the house. I could remember the smell. I was right before I went into rehab, like days before, for my heroin addiction. So I was just like skinny, and and it was with my boyfriend. So we were doing the. I don't even it was I don't know I've never even talked about this ever. Because I repressed it. It was like something that I didn't even I just didn't even really remember until and that's why I say to people in media and just in general, women reach out to me a lot and they're like, I'm having a really hard time. I'm like, girl, I know, the news, when we're in these kind of, depending on what news cycle it is, I can't imagine what it's like for parents who have lost their kids in like a school shooting. Every time there's a school shooting news cycle, but every time there's a sexual assault cycle, I think of how many women there are out there like me who are seeing this like again, like since Me Too. It's like, oh, here we go again with the and then watching it immediately get politicized.
Sure.
On top of it, no, go on.
Is there any comfort in the increasing cultural understanding that this is not uncommon? And this, like a lot of whenever anyone goes through something upsetting, like a divorce, you're getting fired or you get dumped, in your brain, you're like, no one knows how I feel right now. It's like, no, it's actually pretty common.
Yeah.
And if you talk to other people, you will feel human again.
Yeah.
So is there a comfort being like, holy shit, like there's lots of other women that something like this has happened to?
There is, but what worries me is, I talk more openly about it now because people reach out to me and talk to me about it. I don't want it to define me. I spent years before I even got to a position where I was talking publicly, working on not having it be an aspect of my personality. What worries me is that in this, culture of victimhood, that it becomes this identifier, and I'm happy to talk about it and help other women deal with it, because like you said, so there's Bessel van der Kolk is kind of the guy who wrote about trauma and how it lives in the body. In fact, he wrote the book The Body Keeps the Score, and I recommend it to everyone because because I might have a conceptual understanding of my trauma, I might be able to have worked through some of the shame, I might have worked on my self-esteem over the years and rebuilding that I'm 40, that I don't know that a 20-year-old me, I didn't have those tools. I had no tools, and I didn't have anyone telling me you need to get tools, because drinking and smoking weed is going to lead you directly to feeling dead inside by the time you're 35, which is exactly what happened, and feeling worthless. And I just kind of kept running from those feelings instead of ever looking at them. And like you were saying, it lives in your body. That's the different thing about trauma, is that I'm happy everyone's talking about it. I'm happy there's a conversation about it. I'm not really happy that there are women out there with no tools, no awareness that they even have trauma in their body, who are being triggered. That trauma is being triggered over and over and over again by this news cycle, and they're self-destructing because of it. So that's what's worrisome to me, is the people who aren't in a place, who are maybe in a substance abuse cycle, and then this news cycle comes along and it kicks you when you're down, or brings something up that you're trying to heal. It's hard for this stuff to heal when it keeps, it's like opening up a scab every time the news cycle comes around. So I'm happy, but the way that it's handled by the media, the Kavanaugh stuff was traumatic for so many women. I was basically like a hotline in my DMs of just women from both sides coming and being like, the way that this is being handled and politicized and weaponized is disgusting and even more traumatic on top of whatever they had experienced, because now it's like this tool people are wielding. And so when I see sexual assault being weaponized like that, it's fucking disgusting. It infuriates me, on top of, like, good, we're having a conversation, but you're using it to score political points.
You don't agree with E. Jean Carroll?
What?
You don't agree with E. Jean Carroll?
What's that?
That she thinks that most people, when they think of rape, they think it's sexy.
Oh.
They think of the fantasies.
No, not.
It's fascinating. It's fascinating talking to you. What did you saw that? Do you have any thoughts on that whole situation?
On what situation?
When that woman accused Trump of rape, and then she was on Anderson Cooper, and she just came off like a complete loon.
Oh, I didn't see this. I missed this. So yeah, I might have been offline. So you're gonna have to keep me up to speed. I just did the whole bit.
She's on Anderson Cooper. This was literally 2 weeks ago.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was in Joshua Tree.
Okay, and she had accused Trump of raping her in Bergdorf's.
Okay.
In the dressing room.
Okay.
And she's on Anderson Cooper, and this was one of the. You and I have gallows humor, but this is like, even if you don't, you watch this, you're like, this is one of the most amazing things I've ever seen. And he goes, you were raped by the president. This is awful. And she goes, well, no, I'm not a victim. It's not like I was thrown on the ground and ravished. Okay, it's like, okay, you're with her so far. And then she goes, the problem is most people think of rape as sexy. What? And he goes, no, they think of it as a violent assault. She goes, no, they think of the fantasies. And he goes, we're going to go to the commercial. And she goes, it's fascinating talking to you. And it just cuts. And you never heard from her again. You did not see this? I cannot wait to show you this clip.
No, I did not see this.
They think it's sexy. And he's like, wait, what?
What? That took a weird turn.
So, but what advice? I'm really glad that you're out there, that you are a resource for people. Most people need those life preservers. Like you're drowning in the sea. You need something to grab onto.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to people who are coming to realize? And here's the other thing that I think a lot of people have an issue with. Just because you weren't like drawn and quartered by your dad, it's okay to say you have suffered a trauma.
Yeah.
And it's okay to say you've suffered abuse. You have that permission. Just because someone has lost a limb or has watched a kid die.
It's all relative.
It's all relative. And you have a right to your pain.
Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting because I made some joke about how when everything is relative. I learned this when I was in rehab, and I didn't want to share because I was in a state-funded rehab. It was in Minneapolis. Basically, all of the women it was a revolving door of people avoiding jail. And I was the only white girl, and because I put myself on general assistance, after a week, my insurance was up, and they're like, okay, you're good to go, heroin addict. I was like, yeah, no, I'm going to be using heroin again, and I couldn't go home for other reasons. And so I went, put myself on general assistance welfare, and then went to the state-funded rehab, and I didn't feel like I could share because I was in these group therapies with women telling stories, and I was like, I'm just a spoiled, privileged white girl. I was 19, and I was aware of I was so ahead of my privilege. I was way ahead of that curve. But there is some truth to that. I was aware of the fact that I had a lot, and I was spoiled, and that I had basically just been given too much. And then I would say this, and it was my excuse for not sharing. And then when I finally did share, and I always joke about this, like all the women were like, damn, your family's fucked up. Like, white people are fucked up. And that put me like, you know, it made me, that's why I have this perspective on the.
That's why you're so racist now.
It gave me that perspective of individualism, though, too. Yeah. You know, it made me view all of this talk about privilege from a completely different lens, and I'm so grateful I had that experience at 19, because now it's weird how intersectionality and therapy they're fundamentally opposed to one another. So in that rehab, everything about therapy is reducing the amount of victimhood that you feel, reducing your feelings of otherness, and understanding how you can be an individual functioning within a community, reducing the kind of collective grievances that you might have. And I don't even know how therapists with the younger generation are dealing with this. And once I started sharing and opened up, it was very enlightening to see where those commonalities were. So, you know, areas like stepdads and mothers' boyfriends in their cases, or whatever. That's what they say too when you go into recovery. Look for the similarities, don't look for the differences. And the feelings are often, it's all the same, and it is all relative. My advice to people, you know, find what works for you. So not the same things don't work for everybody. Sure. I use a 12-step program because I tried everything else. And I was in a 12-step program when I was 19, and then I left it, and I wasn't just like, hey, whatever works for you. I was like, fuck that. It's bad. It's fear-based and God-based, and I became an atheist, and I reacted to the whole entire thing, and I was very anti. It wasn't just cool, whatever. I went through that. I did everything in my power to kind of avoid ever having to go back.
Yeah.
But now it is the one thing that's worked for me. It does not work for everyone. So I think the process of finding what works for you, what I usually tell people if they're struggling with whether it's sexual assault that hasn't been looked at, or whether it's addiction you think you may or may not even have, or how to cope with that, get a therapist. Start with therapy.
Okay.
Find someone you can talk to, outside perspective, not necessarily someone who's going to put you on meds right away, although you might need that if you're coming, you know, I'm not a doctor, so that might be something that you need at some point, and I'm not against the help there. But I would say first find someone you can talk to, because a therapist and a psychiatrist are two very different things. A lot of people don't know this. A therapist generally will help you come up with a mental health plan. A psychiatrist would be someone you would bring in to support that mental health plan. So start there. I have a good therapist will kind of call you on your bullshit, and I want one who calls me on my bullshit. I don't want one who's just going to agree with every thought that I have. I need someone who's going to help me change the way that I think. And there are many different kinds of therapists. There's cognitive behavioral therapy. There's all different. Maybe you have a lot of trauma and you need someone who's more Freudian or something.
What do you call that one where they throw spiders at you?
Oh, I don't know. It's the fear one where they do have those.
Do they?
Where they scare, essentially they'll have you face all your fears. I don't think that that's a fake thing. I think that you could probably absolutely find someone who would throw spiders at you.
Oh, I'll do it. You just got to PayPal me. I'll as more spiders than you could ever want.
So I'd start there. And then it helped me to have support. I think it's hard to do it alone.
Yes.
And whether that's a faith, a lot of people I know who've become sober, there's a faith-based sobriety that works for people, 12-step programs. There's, I guess, some medications that seem to be working for people to help them with moderation. There are programs that are moderate. Moderation never worked for me because I could never do it. Yeah. I tried. And reach out to people like me who have tried everything. I tried everything. I mean, the shamans, the yoga, marijuana maintenance therapy, everything. Don't drink and don't do any blow. Only do blow on Tuesdays after, just what I tried to manage it.
It's called See You Next Tuesday.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's a very important thing for people to understand and this is, I think when you get older, you realize this, a lot of times your brain is a liar.
Yeah.
And
a lot.
That is very hard to understand.
A lot.
I remember for me, one of the first moments I realized this, I was at the gym and my brain was telling me, go home, you have to do X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, oh, this is the mind-body connection telling me it's exhausted and doesn't want to do more work, but it's very articulate.
Yeah.
That's what writer's block is.
Yeah.
The brain will have mechanisms to keep you from doing work because it wants to preserve energy, right? Mm-hmm. But your brain really knows how to talk to you because it's there. Mm-hmm. And I remember quite recently, I had a traumatic incident and I had suicidal ideation. And it was a very weird moment because I knew there was literally zero chance I'm going to kill myself.
Right.
It was
right.
But the brain is saying it. So I called one of the suicide hotlines. I'm like, okay, this is the time to call when you know no possibility of self-harm, no possibility of suicide, but I'm feeling this way.
Right.
And I know not to trust my feelings. And the guy was really, really cool.
I've heard they're amazing, actually.
Yeah, it was like,
they're well-trained.
It was shocking.
Yeah.
It was shocking.
People have called the, AA hotlines, those people that they've told me that they had amazing experiences with. But I've heard in particular the suicide hotline is extremely helpful. It's so seductive because it's in your voice.
Yes,
that
right.
Those lies are in your voice. And especially with depression, which I've experienced a lot of anxiety, depression, hypochondria. I've been helping someone with hypochondria. I never really talk about this. I had crippling hypochondria, debilitating, right before I kind of started getting sober.
Well, that's because you kept getting AIDS from all that sex you were having. And
that was part of it.
And AIDS gives you lots of other diseases. That's how AIDS works.
And so that was a big part of it. And I definitely noticed that those lies, that's what's so tricky, to the point that you almost have to, and especially it's so tricky trying to trick yourself because it's hard not to become a little crazy in the process of healing, where I had to personify my hypochondria, and so that I could be like, oh, that's let's say Tracy talking, and so there was a minute where I'm like, am I just creating a split personality accidentally? It's a little dodgy. There wasn't very many resources for hypochondria, and I'm like, is this how people split?
So part of the thing that I like about my show is getting to meet interesting people and learning about things from them. Who of all your guests have you learned from the most?
Mozart.
You met Mozart?
Yeah.
How'd that happen?
Well, he came to me in a vision, and I always thought that I had a past life and that he was probably one of my lovers, and then it turns out that he was. He came to me in a vision, and then we sat down and recorded, and it picked up.
Oh,
so past lives, I think, first of all, I learned that past lives are real. And then I learned that he was pretty drunk, and he was upset that he died so young.
Didn't you get a lot of pushback from that episode?
Yeah, he's not woke, for sure. He had a lot of takes that were pretty
outdated.
He's very misogynistic and sexist. He was talking about his wife in very demeaning terms, and he was definitely a little bit handsy.
Yeah.
A little grab-assy. But brilliant. And just had this way. There was something about him that if I could have fucked him, I would have. It's one of the few podcast guests I've ever wanted to fuck. Do you know that they've done studies on multiple personalities?
It's not a thing.
No, they've done studies, and they have different, allergies to food.
I heard it's complete bullshit.
Is it?
Yeah.
Where is
that
this?
MPD is not a thing. That's what I heard.
Really?
Yes. But one thing I do want to say about the whole depression anxiety thing, which I think people need to realize, if you're suffering from depression anxiety, how it works is you have the sensation, right? Then your mind finds a reality-based cause to latch onto.
Right.
And you're going to think, oh, I'm feeling this way because I'm out of a job. No. Mm-hmm. You're feeling that way because of your mind, and your mind is giving you something to latch onto, so it sounds more legitimate, but it is not legitimate because the emotional response is not at all proportionate to the emotion that you're feeling.
Right.
Like if you're broke, you should not be having a panic attack. You just should be taking a cab.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's like, okay, I'm broke for this week. It sucks. It should not be like freaking the fuck out. And that's what people don't realize about depression, anxiety.
It's so it's
Insidious.
sneaky. Yeah, it's insidious and sneaky. And depression is anxiety. They're so different. Two sides of the same coin, but so very different.
Yes.
Anxiety is so hard to deal with, and I've sweat through shirts in airports, and it feels a lot more visceral. It was debilitating in a very that anxiety way, where I wanted to just put a drill in my brain and felt like I was going crazy. Depression, I always kind of describe as it's like I can feel it lapping the shores of my consciousness like a fog when it starts to kind of creep, and then sometimes it's so sneaky and pervasive that it will creep in before I even realize that I'm in it.
Yeah.
And that's when it's like sometimes it'll take 2 days and I'm like, oh, I'm depressed.
Yeah.
I need to do something about this. I need to, I have tools now, but sometimes even still, it's almost 6 years sober.
And your brain is so evil, not everyone's brain, that the advice it tells you is, oh, don't talk to anyone.
No, isolate.
Yeah, isolate.
Just be alone with me.
Yeah.
Netflix. I've been working on the stand-up routine because Netflix is a big isolating device.
Oh, yeah.
And for me now, I know I'm in a bad place. When Netflix is like, are you still watching? I feel like it should be like, are you okay? Should we call one of your emergency contacts? Like, what if you have to implant emergency contacts, or it's like Michael gets a text, it's like, Bridget has been watching 9 hours of Frasier. You might want to give her a call. Make sure she's okay. And then it's like, oh no, don't call Michael. He's been binge watching Lost. He's not a good person to reach out to. He's in a dark place too. Like Netflix knows everyone who's depressed right now.
And the show never pays off. It's only going to get worse for him.
No.
You are at Ricochet, which is a conservative network.
Yeah.
So you and John Gabriel have the reputation of being the bad girls at Ricochet. I'm just kidding. I love John.
He's the baddest.
He is. So how is it that you fit in at this place? It's like lots of National Review types.
Yeah, it is actually. I'm a salon conservative.
Yeah, you and Bill Crystal, just like this. I'm
like, you know what conservatism is, guys? Can you believe it?
Have you heard of this guy, Matt Drudge?
Can you believe what they're doing to conservatism, these Trumpers?
There's no wall. There's never going to be a wall. They lied. No, but how is it that you fit in there?
So they approached me, and I didn't see any reason not to. I thought it was kind of cool that I was an outlier, and definitely there was a little bit of pushback at first because they're like, what the hell is this random former Playboy columnist doing on our pristine white dudes talking about politics network?
Yeah, you're the dress.
Yeah. And now they have Carol Roth, and she does her, she's like a brilliant kind of money person.
She follows me.
That's as technical as I am about money. You can see clearly I'm a finance genius. I'm like, she's a money person. She knows what to do with airline miles.
I thought she was a fake follow.
No, she's great.
Because she follows 16,000 people. So there's the technique where you just robo-follow people that they follow you back. But then she interacts with me sometimes. I'm like, are you actually reading my garbage? And
probably,
she is,
yeah. Yeah, she's great. So
I'll
she's
follow
on
her
there.
back.
She's really funny. I feel like they have a couple. They have Lady Brains. Bethany,
okay.
You know,
Bethany's sweetheart.
I love her.
Yeah.
Big shout out to my BFF. And
She's been on the show.
Oh, I love her. And so, but it's still definitely an outlier. I had a Mitchell Sunderland was on recently, and he was talking.
The editor?
Yeah. It was amazing. He has the most amazing stories. I keep getting emails about it. They're like, those stories don't even seem real. And every story out of his mouth, I'm like, this is the most Florida story I've ever heard in my life. And he would top it with another even more Florida story. But he's just fascinating, and it was very graphic. You know, he's like saying faggot, like just being Mitchell. And it was definitely, we had to kind of, someone was like, why did you censor that? It's like, well, it's still on a, I don't know.
It's Ricochet.
It's still on a conservative network, and I still have advertisers.
You don't have to give a short answer to this. I'm sure you're going to have a long answer. What do you think about rape jokes?
I'm fine with them. I think they're funny.
Okay.
If they're funny. When I'm at like an open mic and I see guys doing rape jokes, I'm like,
trying to be edgy.
It's like, that's the difference. You're trying to be edgy. I can make rape jokes. I joke about how if you're going to drug someone and rape them, make sure you give them enough drugs that they don't wake up. Like, you fucking amateur.
Jesus Christ.
Get your dose right. I wouldn't have these horrible fucking memories if you knew what you're doing.
I just would have had a dream that I was, friends with this bear.
I would have just woken up and been like, like nothing happened, but no. So, and I'm sure I'll get, creamed for even saying that, but it helps me to, that's how I process a lot of the trauma, is by laughing at it. So when women are policing rape jokes in general, I'm like, no, you don't get to do that, because that's how I get to process I process things with comedy and humor. I use it to deal with a lot of the trauma and to take away the power that it could have to make me feel like a perpetual victim for the rest of my life and or hate all men. I don't want to be bitter. I don't want to be cynical. I want to still be excited and have an optimistic view of. It would be very easy for me with my background to be like the most nihilistic fuck ever and just spread that everywhere.
I went on a tear this past
Along
weekend
with
because the
AIDS.
Clinton and the Jeffrey Epstein thing.
Yeah.
And some people were getting pissed because I was really going dark. But my approach, if you want to put me down the witness chair and want me to be totally earnest, is this man is a monster. I had Juanita Broderick, who was his rape victim, on this show.
Oh, wow.
She's like a senior citizen at this point, and I totally believe her because...
She's a senior citizen.
No, because she's white. No, I believe her because as she was telling the story, her voice was totally calm, but she was crying. So there was this complete disconnect between her affect and her body language. I'm like, that's not something you can fake, and that is something that is very disturbing to see when they're talking like this. And I'm like, holy shit.
Like, okay, I'm out of my depth.
Yeah. So when the fact that this guy's valorized and it's just like, glad handing, I'm like, no. This is, everyone knows, wherever you are on the political spectrum, that powerful men get away with awful shit.
Yeah.
This is every culture ever in history.
Yeah.
Right? We have a long list. Right? So to have it be like, oh, ha, 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 it's just like, no, this is dark shit.
Yeah, it is dark.
And this is
It's
my way
dark.
to bring it up.
Yeah.
Because you guys are just think, well, if this guy gives good speeches and puts on a suit, he can't be a monster. Like, that's the person most likely to be a monster.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, to answer the question, I'm fine with even that joke that Louis did that was like, he did that rape joke, or he's like, rape jokes aren't funny, or I don't know. He did one that I've been raped and I laughed at. Now, they have to be good.
Right.
I don't care what you're joking about as long as it's good. And by the way, sometimes comedians, they're not going to be good when they're working them out.
Sure.
So there's the process of getting to the place where they're good.
It's just like rape. You got to make sure there's lube.
It takes time.
Yeah, it takes a process. It's a process.
You've got to learn how many drugs.
Yeah,
to use.
the lube. Yeah, flavor. Yeah, you don't want flavor because she got to identify you. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't have the. I'm not, and I feel like I'm in a position to say fuck off when someone's like, rape jokes aren't funny. I'm like, maybe for you they're not funny.
Well, and you know what? Most jokes aren't funny.
Yeah.
Most jokes are not funny.
Yeah.
So yeah, but there's also this mentality, and I'll defend them, who think just saying like huge dildo is inherently funny. It's
Yeah.
like it's not.
Yeah.
That's just a hack, like crutch comedically.
Yeah, and it's very there's like the open mic rape joke too. It's I was I was at I think I was somewhere, and it was like one comedian after another, and I was like, what if I just start yelling rape jokes? Cause like Freebird.
Slow ride, take it easy.
It was seriously like one after another, just trying their, maybe their third time up, just trying their hand at a rape joke. I'm like, play rape jokes.
My friend, God help him, was in an started doing improv, and he made me go to his show, which was worse than rape. Because it happened to a man, so therefore it matters. And they're like, oh, they yell something out for this scene. I just yell out cancer ward. And they had to do it twice, because the second time I yelled it out again. And it was terrible. The cancer was the least upsetting thing about the scene.
Okay, improv is worse than rape.
It is. At least, there's because it's all victim.
I was in an improv class, and I did a scene that was so bad, and still, I'm sure everyone in the room was still traumatized.
Like they have to DM you. Be like, I saw this improv years ago. I'm still upset. That was me. There's no cure. This one you have to self-medicate.
It was me and this girl. We did everything. I still remember it.
Tell me about it. What was it?
We had to take a train, and I don't know. It was literally just a crazy train. She was doing everything wrong. It was no yes-anding. She was just knowing everything, and she's like, and now we're gonna pick up all the people. But I can't even remember. It was so bad. All I remember is that everyone else in the class was just sitting there, and the teacher he hated us after that. I mean, hated us. And I think he hated us because we were both laughing so hard.
Yeah.
So it was the worst improv ever, but I thought it was hilarious because it was so bad and there was no way out of it. None. It was so painful. It was bad improv is great. Good improv, which is rare. Is genius. I have seen good improv where you're like, and their team that's worked together for 15 years and they know each other and they've got it down, but anyone else sucks.
Cancer ward. Hey, what did you bring for lunch today for your oncology tube? Oh, I have carrot sticks. What about you? They packed me some Skittles. Oh, okay. What am I watching? What am I watching? That happened. Hashtag that happened.
Hashtag
so I'm a cancer sketch survivor. It was bad. It was really bad. My hair got pulled out. I was bald.
And it was your fault.
It's my fault. It wasn't my fault.
You gave them the groundwork.
You should be able to take any groundwork and go with it.
Oh, come on.
What?
That's like saying that the roots of Twitter don't cause bad divisive discourse.
I'm for bad divisive discourse.
I know you're for.
I'm for Eris, the goddess of with the golden apple. I was going to get the tattoo. Did you know that?
Mm-mm. Why would I know that?
Because
Did you skywrite it in LA?
It's my Insta.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm not an Insta.
You're not an Insta?
I am in theory.
Okay. Okay, I don't know what that means. You don't update on it.
No, not really.
So what is it are like the big issues that interest you nowadays?
There's this thing called the culture wars. I don't know why I sound like old timey.
Hey, mister.
Hey, mister.
Got a little bit.
Yeah. You want some papes? Okay, Newsies was an amazing movie.
Hey, mister, you want a knuckle sandwich?
Hey, mister. You know what?
You know what? That's more from the Bronx than AOC. So you got some sincerity there.
Yeah, the culture wars are interesting, but also boring.
Sure.
So I go back and forth between feeling like it's very, it's hard for me because I guess I am provocative in that I love pushing. I love commenting on people's Twitters that I know hate me. Like, I love it.
Like who? Who's your favorite hate tweet?
I think that guy Jared Holt hates me.
I don't know him.
He does
I know the name.
I think he runs like alt-right watch or right watch.
Oh, that guy. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he hates me and thinks I'm a Nazi or whatever.
Sympathizer, yeah.
Yeah, or a water carrier.
Yeah.
I'm the water girl for the Nazis. And I always love commenting on his
Does he ever respond?
Like, just like we're buddies.
Does he ever respond?
Oh.
Oh, that's beautiful because he sees it. You've got more followers than him, don't you? By far.
I don't know.
I think you do.
And I don't hate everything. Like sometimes he says things that are funny, and I will try and tag on it, and just like crickets.
That's beautiful. What I started doing this week.
Like, hey, buddy, have you heard of Ben Shapiro?
He took photos of me when I was a kid.
Shut up.
There's Lawrence Tribe, Harvard law professor.
Mm-hmm.
Total TDS. Yeah, Trump derangement syndrome.
Okay.
Tiananmen Square.
Have you heard of this thing?
Have you heard this thing, Trump derangement syndrome? Tiananmen Square. You remember this was back in the day when they ran over all the kids in China. Trump was having his military parade for July 4th. He goes, "This is just like the days before Tiananmen Square." So I'm like, all right, we're not doing this. So I just took the photo from The Simpsons of Grandpa Simpson, the newspaper clipping, with Fish shaking his fist, and it says, "Old man yells at cloud," and I photoshopped say "Old man yells at POTUS," and now whatever he tweets, I'm the first one with that fucking photo. And
You're like the Krasensteins on Trump.
Yes, and he fucking sees this old fucking coot. It's
but that's the thing, is that it makes it. That is why it's hard, because I'm really just there's no filter between me and myself.
Yeah.
I'm very much. There are times where I feel very spiritual. There are times where I feel very sexy, probably when I'm ovulating. There are times, and then I want to show my boobs off all the time. I bet if you tracked my Twitter activity, you could figure out exactly in my cycle where I was just by the tone of the tweets. It's like, oh, she gives zero fucks. She must have just had her period. Like right on the end when your hormones are like a male's, and oh, she's showing her boobs, must be ovulating.
Bridget, we're running out of time.
I know.
What has been your favorite part of this interview?
When I found out you were a cancer sketch survivor.
You are welcome. Same clip of me asking the question, so it's completely surreal.